UFC 310 is upon us, guys. Last pay-per-view for the year, and the UFC are looking to close with a good one. We got undefeated contenders trying to take the others. Oh, we got a UFC debutant fighting in the main event for a title. We got no WMMA fights, all the makings for a really good card, so let's get straight into it. First fight of the night is going to be at the heavyweight division between Kennedy and Nzechukwu and Lukasz Brzeski. Sorry if I butchered either of those names. Kennedy is a more proven fighter, but he's also not a true heavyweight. Yes, he came off a good win against Chris Barnett, but Barnett was hurt from before the fight even started. He should not have been in that fight. But that being said, Kennedy did make quick work of him. Lukasz is not the best either, with his only win coming against Walter Walker, losing to good guys that the UFC were trying to push. All indications for me points to Kennedy, because again, he is the better fighter. Lukasz is durable, so the bet for this fight is going to be Kennedy to win and over 1.5 rounds. There is a chance that he gets the finish, but I see him accumulating strikes over time rather than finishing in the first round or the early second. This bet covers the fight if it was to go to decision, which I see happening as well. Next up, we have Chase Hooper set to face off against Guida. These two faced off in a submission grappling match in the past, where Chase Hooper won via a calf slicer. Everyone thinks this fight will be done in a similar way, where he can submit Clay in MMA as well. I think Clay, knowing that he got submitted by Chase, he would be a lot more cautious of his opponent and be able to fend off submission. The worry is if Chase gets on top, he can land some heavy ground and pound, softening Clay up for a submission. But in the grappling match, he got the favorable position by stuffing a takedown, trying to go for a guillotine, sprawling. Clay dropped to the mat, where Hooper was able to maintain good pressure on the neck, so that Clay would have to stay on bottom. Chase circled out, took the back, and attempted a twister. Really clean and superior grappling by him, so I think he is the better grappler. Clay defended a twister right after, where Chase Hooper would have transitioned very quickly and smoothly into the calf slicer. Very, very good technical performance by Chase. People say that Chase is going to win by sub, but I think he's going to win by decision. Clay is going to want no part of the grappling with him. I do believe he's going to try to keep the fight standing as much as possible. If the fight goes down to the ground, he's going to be worrying a lot about the grappling and be more defensive rather than offensive. I do believe that Chase Hooper is going to get the superior position on the ground more often than not and win the fight with control. The play is going to be Chase Hooper to win over 1.5 rounds. Even if Hooper could get the finish, I see it happening in the late second or third. But in my opinion, the most probable outcome is Chase Hooper to win by decision. Next up is Max Griffin versus Michael Chiesa, and this is a pick'em fight. Cutting straight to the chase, I see Max Griffin winning, and I got a bet on that happening. Chiesa is on the tail end of his career, where his only path to victory, in my opinion, is getting a submission victory. It's not going to be easy for Chiesa to get the fight down to the ground, and Griffin has also never been submitted. Most of his losses came by decision. Chiesa has a 50% takedown accuracy, so it will be very interesting to see if he can get the fight to the ground in the first place. But Max has got to be aware of the game plan and should be able to stuff takedowns and win a striking battle. Next up, we got a fun fight at the flyweight division between Joshua Van and Cody Durden. Joshua Van is a striker who has shown a lot of improvements in all of his fights. He is very young, about 10 years younger than Cody Durden, and coming off a close win against a very tough opponent in Edgar Chairez. But I do like Cody Durden in this matchup. A lot of people are writing him off after he got touched up by Matt Schnell And I get it, match now is not good by any means, but Cody is the guy that will be able to push and work for takedowns, especially if Van can't give him anything to fear in terms of power. I am placing a bet on Durden to win. His offensive grappling should be enough to win at least 2 rounds and get the nod on the judges' scorecards. Next up, we have a rescheduled bout between Chris Weidman, who set the face-off against Eryk Anderson. My pick on this and bet on this remains the same. I'm sticking with Chris Weidman. I think he gets the job done. People are writing him off because of the age, but there is nothing that Anders does that will work against Chris Weidman. Good luck getting him down to the ground. You got outstruck by Jamie Pickett. Weidman will beat him senseless if the fight stays standing. Would be really hard to put Anders out because he is very, very durable, but I can't see a clear path for Anders to get the job done. So I see Chris Weidman getting the victory. Next up, we got Randy Rude Boy Brown set to face off against Bryan Battle. And oh boy, is Bryan Battle fun. I got him winning this one, but it could be a lot closer than what the odds suggest. Randy Brown is a long dude who would try to use his large reach to keep Bryan Battle at bay. There's a 6-inch reach discrepancy, but he doesn't have much pop in his punches. I do believe that Battle will walk right through those strikes, close the distance, and make it a scrap. Once he manages to do so, it's all his fight. It should be entertaining if he manages to do it effectively. Even if the fight goes down to the ground, I believe Bryan Battle is still the better grappler. I see the fight staying standing for the majority of it, where Bryan Battle gets the victory. Next up, we got a matchup between Aljamain Sterling and Movsar Evloev at the 145-pound division. 2 high-level grapplers, and I don't see this one being easy on the eyes by any means. Aljo is not really a good wrestler, but his jiu-jitsu makes him a good grappler. He won his last fight against Calvin Kattar by suffocating him and taking him down at will. However, this game plan is not going to work against a fighter like Evloev. In fact, Evloev may be able to do a game plan like that against Aljo himself. I see him winning a dominant decision, but he needs to be mindful of Aljamain's back take. The fight could completely turn on its axis if he gives up his back. Other than that, he is safe against a guy like Aljo. Next up, we have Themba Gorimbo set to face off against Vicente Luque. And I'm getting the shock factor out of the way up front. I think Vicente Luque beats Themba. In fact, I'm putting money on him to win the fight. Let me explain before you bash me in the comments. He is on the tail end of his career, most definitely. Did he look awful against Buckley? Without a shadow of a doubt. Does this matter? No. Themba is not amazing at anything really, besides pulling on the heartstrings. He is lovable, but Luque has a solid chin despite it being cracked in the past. It's definitely solid enough to survive Themba's punches. Themba will try to get control time and even shoot for takedowns, but Vicente is no slouch on the ground. If Themba is not careful, he can get caught in a dart stroke very easily. This dude trains with Gilbert Burns, Gabriel Bonfim, among many other Brazilians. He is a certified grappler. I don't see what Themba does to win this fight. I think stylistically it's just a bad matchup, so I'm siding with the underdog here. Next up, we have Anthony Smith set to face off against Dominick Reyes. Guys, Anthony Smith, win, lose, or draw, will tell you he beats Reyes everywhere. He believes that he is the better striker. He believes that he is the better grappler. Let's be honest, Dominick Reyes wins in the first or second round. He's back, and Anthony Smith is really on a steady decline. The play for this one is going to be Dominick Reyes to win and land more significant strikes. Anthony throws a little output against power punchers, and if Reyes hurts, he's gonna be landing a lot of significant strikes. Next up, we got a barn burner between Nate the Train and Choi. I love the underdog spot here, and I don't mind getting this one wrong. I'm placing a bet on but once the fight lives up to the hype, I'm okay with the outcome regardless. Choi hits with a ton of power and has a chin of adamantium. Nate hits hard, but he gets hit very often. I think Choi can clip him in a lot of those exchanges and get the better of him in the striking. But let's be honest, it should be a coin flip. My bet is very dependent on Choi's chin holding up. Next up, we had Bryce Mitchell set to face off against Kron Gracie. Bryce should easily win this one. People don't like the matchup, but Bryce is coming off a really brutal KO loss against Josh Emmett. Why would you want to see him matched up against another powerful puncher? Bryce is a dude who will be able to outstrike Kron and stuff any attempt that Kron has of a takedown. No bet on this one because the odds are not worth it. The fear is Bryce is really crazy enough to have a grappling match with a Gracie, but he's a wild dude, so anything can happen. Once he keeps his head on and fights smart, the game plan should be to keep it standing and he should win easily. Next up, we have a rematch between Ciryl Gane and Alexander Volkov. A lot of people are overhyping Volkov after his win against Sergey Pavlovich. Breaking this down should be really easy. Let's get the easy part out of the way first. Ciryl Gane is a much better striker. He moves better and he's even beaten Volkov in a striking bout. There's no debate there. In terms of grappling, yes, I agree. Volkov on paper is a better grappler, but let's be honest, he's no wrestler by any means. He's good at stuffing takedowns, but landing them, not as much. He's not going to be shooting no double legs at Gane. It's actually going to be very interesting if he can get a takedown. I don't see it happening, and even if it does, in the off chance that he lands a takedown on Gane, I can't see him getting a finish. You saw how bad his submission offense was against Tai Tuivasa. The only reason he got that submission was because Tai Tuivasa does not know what to do off of his back. I give Gane a lot more credit than Tai in the grappling, so I think Gane wins by decision because the fight really is going to be striking and Gane is a much better striker. Now on to the co-main event of the evening, a number one contender fight in the welterweight division between Shavkat Rakhmonov and Ian Garry. A lot of people are siding with the underdog Ian Garry on this one, but I have absolutely no idea why. Yes, Shavkat is very hittable, but Ian is not a one-punch KO specialist that will make him pay. Ian is hittable in his own right. He gets caught by guys like Keenan Song, didn't he? And Keenan Song is relatively slow. Shavkat is no slouch in terms of grappling, so I don't expect to see any of that nonsense that Ian pulled off against Michael Venom Page. Shavkat is going to chew him up if the fight goes to the floor. It should be a striking bout. Shavkat's jab is going to keep Ian Garry honest. Let's be honest, Shavkat's jab is phenomenal. Really clean 1-2, and Ian will be very wary of the power coming his way. Shavkat is a finisher that will get Ian out of there once there's blood in the water. If Ian wins the fight, I would be extremely shocked. Don't get me wrong, Ian Garry is one of the best that the welterweight division has to offer, but he is facing the very best at the welterweight division, in my opinion. The bet is going to be Shavkat to win and land more significant strikes. I think the combinations add up, while Ian Garry is going to try to pick him apart by landing very little strikes. His shots will be very singular, in my opinion, while Shavkat's are going to be more combinations and he's going to accumulate strikes that way. Mad respect to Ian Garry for taking this fight. Nobody wants to fight Shavkat, and with good reason. I see that being proven very well in this fight. Now, on to the main event of the evening, a flyweight bout between Alexander Pantoja and a newcomer from Rise and Kai Asakura. here is the problem with this one. We have not seen Kai fight at the UFC level, and matching him up against the very best in the division is a recipe for disaster. It's a really tough spot for him. His strength lies with his power, and getting a KO finish over Pantoja, not going to be an easy thing for him. Pantoja has one of the best chins in the division, if not the very best chin in the division. He's also a fantastic grappler, not really finishing fights as of late when he takes the fight down to the ground, but his opponents have been really good in terms of submission defense. Steve Erceg, never been submitted. Brandon Royval, hard to submit nowadays. Pantoja was able to submit him in the past, but he's improved massively since. One of the best grapplers in the division, in the UFC, Tatsuro Taira, couldn't submit Brandon Royval, so that should say enough about him. Brandon Moreno also has never been submitted. I think this fight, we see exactly how good Asakura's grappling defense really is, and I don't see it holding up. The bet is going to be Pantoja to win and land more significant strikes. He does land a lot of significant strikes by his past couple of bouts, and especially if he gets the fight down to the ground, I see him landing some ground and pound and accumulating strikes that way. I do see Asakura getting tired as the fights go on, but don't want to place too much reliance on that. I think Alexander Pantoja gets the takedown, controls Asakura, and gets the fight done. And that's all I have for you today. Be sure to leave a like. Let me know what you think about the picks and plays down below. Subscribe. Follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Twitter. Support the channel on the Patreon. And I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, game time.